Alright, so I've been in the industry for about a decade and a half, and I've gathered so much experience in being a good engineer, and I thought I'd give out some of these career advices for beginning engineers who could be really successful by following these 9 tips. Let's get on to it. Work smart, not smart. What you need to do is to look like you're working smart, not actually working smart, but you need to look like you're working smart. In this age of AI, this is really easy to do. I'll give you a concrete example that I do every day. If someone is asking you a question, what you need to do is basically copy that question, paste it over to Claude or ChatGPT, just copy the output from there into the chat. This is all you need to do. Really going to look like you're working smart. What you look like at the end of the day is someone who's actually using AI to get their work done. So you're going to be one of the people who are championing AI in the company, and that's what's important. Delay, defer, deny. I know that this can be a little bit confusing, but this is something that you need to get into your DNA of being a really incompetent engineer. When it comes to work, you should always delay. The delivery date is always going to be next week. And why is next week important? Because that's over that weekend bump. No one really remembers what happened during the last week unless that person is really determined to get some work out of you. In that case, just say something like you had other priorities, so your manager has changed your priorities. So basically you can do anything after a weekend. It doesn't really matter. Always defer. What I said earlier is really important. If someone is coming after you to get your work done, just talk to your manager, say that you're getting harassed or you have too much workload, and your manager usually doesn't have a lot of input on what you actually do, so you can really bullshit your way out of this. So just say you have a lot of work that you can manage at the moment, you don't have enough cycles is a really good phrase, and just get out of that work, and then tell the person just to talk to the manager, and that'll be done. Deny. This is something that I'm going to go into deeper later, but always deny that you ever did something wrong. You are not someone who can make a mistake. Never accept that you made a mistake. Copy last year's work. I can tell you a story. I was a team lead in one of those operations teams, and there was a really bad audit coming my way, so I wasn't really interested in working that week. So what I did was to just copy the last year's user report, change the timestamps, and provided that report. No one really knew until they'd found out that the script that I was supposed to run didn't really work. But by that point I had already left the company, so it doesn't really matter. This works every time. Copy last year's work. You need to look like you're working hard. You need to look like you're working smart. Now this is, I would say, one of my best advices. You need to build this quality into yourself. You need to be able to see every PR comment as a personal remark. None of that bullshit about code being just work and non-personal. You need to be able to take every comment that someone makes about your code, a comment about yourself. So one really good example I can give out here is once I pushed a merge commit into a branch that was not supposed to have merge commits, and someone pointed that out, and what I did was golden. I accused that person of being a racist. To be honest, I didn't really know him, but it didn't matter whether he's a racist or not. The moment I accused him of being a racist, all it mattered was whether he was a racist or not the fact that I almost broke the build or I almost took down production. So this is a really good tool in your arsenal. Just learn to build these qualities in yourself. The earlier you can build these in your career, the better. Never acknowledge, never reply. It's really important that you set yourself up for success, and one of the key aspects of that is to never acknowledge any messages that come in your way, and never reply if you can help it. Let's say someone reaches out to you through Teams. If you reply immediately, your value as an engineer goes down instantly, like this, straight to jail. Just take your time. There's never a hurry. The person doesn't really need any answers. What they're looking to see is whether you are important or not. If you never acknowledge that you got the message, if you never reply, that means your importance is going to be the highest. If you never open your mouth, people will never know you're stupid, so never reply if you can help it. There is always something to blame. Like I said before, you need to be able to look at the world in a really negative way for you to be successful in this career. There is always something out there to blame. You can't really build this habit of blaming yourself. You can't really build this habit of accepting that you're wrong, accepting blame. You need to always be able to find things that are there to blame. So this could be either the tool, this could be other people in your team, this could be something totally not relevant to the work you're doing, but you need to build that skill. Find something immediately to blame and just shut up after that. I spent some years as a consultant. This is one of the key lessons that I've learned from those stints. Basically, it doesn't matter if you're getting billed as an engineer or an architect or a project manager, you need to be able to talk, especially if you don't know what you're talking about. Let's say you're getting billed as a data engineer, but you don't really know what data engineering is. Doesn't really matter. What you need to look for is to impress the champion at your client. What you're trying to do as a consultant is to make your champion look good in front of others. That's the key. It doesn't matter whether you do good data engineering or not. All it matters is that you make your champion look like they've found the correct vendor to work with. So talk about how you come to New Zealand from another country and you're just exploring yourself, or some fairy tale like that. It'll always help, and just keep the client happy. You can always worry about code later. Talking about code, this is something I'm always proud about myself. If you write any code by any chance, that should be your documentation. I've never written any deliberate documentation. Anytime anyone asks where the documentation is, I'm always going to point to the code. It's always going to be some gibberish that no one really understands, but it doesn't really matter. Again, what you need to look like is that you know stuff. It doesn't matter whether you know stuff or not. So if you say stuff like code is the documentation, that makes you look smart. That's the key. Be confident. I'd like to close this out with the best advice I can ever give. You need to be able to be confident without anything to back it up. You might notice that people who know stuff are less confident about themselves. This is the key, right? So the key to being confident is that you know as least as possible. If you know nothing, you can be the most confident person. And if you can be most confident, then you never have to acknowledge any fault. If you're wrong and someone is trying to prove that you're wrong, just always shift the goalpost, my man. Say that you always knew that was wrong. You were just trying to point that out and you're done. No one can ever call that out. Just be smart, right? So those are the top 9 tips that I can give out to you guys as beginners. Always remember, never complete your work, never go up to 10. Follow me for more advice. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I will never reply back to you. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.